everybody, most of the things that they've done behind the scene is now more open to the Nigerian people.
Exactly, because, you know, and also another thing that some experts have said is that whether or not that outburst is going to count, you know, negatively for him, you know, not in his favor. If you look at the backlash that a lot of people said, look, this is this is about
exactly
self-entitlement and all of that. But let me let Silas.
Before Silas go, please. You see, now the presidency was smart enough not to take him on the matter. They only say he made the right statement, and then they let it go.
All right, well, Silas, let's have your take on the, you know, you are yourself a member of the APC. Why the flip-flop? You know, why the back and forth?
Yeah, well, first I want to thank the administration of the President of Nigeria, President Muhammad Buhari. You know, being a leader comes with a lot of tasks. I must attest to that because I've been there. I'm an employer of labor, and I know how to deal with people. Now, if you don't have a favorite child, of course, you understand that you have to listen to the plea that comes from all of them and make an informed decision. Now, in this context, I think that regardless of whatever discussion that has been made with the president and the party's national chairman, I think it's also glaring that the president also wants something where, rather an avenue or a ground where everybody have a fair play, you know. I think this was the reason why Bello got that audience with him yesterday. And because we saw that video, we went viral where he got angry coming from a particular meeting, and which he went forth to also discuss with the president. So, and the outburst from the national chairman might be on a personal interest. That's the way I see it. Because if it was, I do not think that the president of the Mr. President would outrightly have a secret discussion and then come out publicly to defame such discussion.
You know, there are those who have gone as far as saying that perhaps the national chairman is being used as a stooge, you know, for some group or some cabal somewhere, either, you know, positively or negatively.
Now, political parties, all political parties have their irregularities. And these irregularities cut across rumors and stories all around. You see, if you understand the emergence of the party national chairman, you know, it came from a die-minute decision, and which a lot of people felt that it came from the particular group which you're referring to, which might not be true. I think that every elective position must come through the decision of every other person involved.
But the president, I mean, the national chairman didn't get the weight, you know, of his aspirations until the president threw his weight behind him, you know, to say, I'm endorsing this person for the national chairmanship.
Well, as Mr. President, yes, he has certain level of rights, but you could see that regardless, if, for example, let's come back a little, if, for example, the discussion the party national chairman has imposed that this is what we have agreed, okay, and the president now coming up to debunk it and said, no, I'm saying everybody go into the field. Now, if that was true, it would have played out exactly the way it played out, the same way how the national chairman came to become national chairman. So I'm saying that if, for example, the people, the contestants, the opposition, alongside with the national chairman, then you wouldn't have the consensus arrangement which they all agreed and signed. So if they had agreed with the decision as at now, I think all the aspirants, including Bello and the rest, that have all signed it on. But if the president had thrown his weight on a particular candidate.
I'm just wondering, why the inconsistency with the APC? Recall the scenario of the Maimala Buni caretaker committee when he traveled out of the country, and then you had the governor of Niger State coming in to whether to act on his behalf or whether to take over the leadership. You know, the news that we got was that he was taking over, you know, from Maimala Buni and all of that, and then, you know, it turns out not to be so. The governor of Niger State had claimed that the president has given him his blessings to be able to take over, you know, the leadership of the party. So why do these things happen? And we always hear that it is the president that gave me, you know, the endorsement to do these, and then it turns out later not to be so.
You know, initially, if you paid attention, I told you that these irregularities come from party faithfuls. You know, anybody within the party can come up with an information. You know, we have several platforms. You see a lot of news, information coming from different places. You'll be imagining, where is this coming from? Now, when you go to the right source, which is where you're meant to actually get those information from, you discover that it is false. So you must pay, and this happened in all political parties. It's not just the APC. Are you getting it now? So I think people, if you want to get real information about these particular situations, you should go to the right source and not listening from what people had said, because I followed the trend between the people who said they were trying to unseat Malamudi and the others. But this wasn't true. The man simply was traveling, and the seat cannot be vacant.
But you cannot excuse even members of the, you know, the ESCOs of the party, because at the time, I remember the secretary of the party, James John, who also, you know, denied, you know, some of the stories, you know, and also gave credence to some. So he himself was tilting towards a certain, you know, person.
They all have their bosses, and if you're not sure this information is coming from the boss, the only thing is, just like if you had accosted me and about something you've heard and I'm not aware of, and maybe that information is supposed to come from me through the top. And maybe instead of saying, okay, hold on, I'll talk to the person at the top, and to be sure if this information you're giving me is correct, I would give a less pre-informed information to you. And at the end of the day, want to come back to debunk it. That's exactly what's playing out. Do you understand?
All right. Well, let's hear Dr. Yunusa. There was an open letter to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a leader of the APC and also an aspirant in this primary election, by former governor of Ekiti State, Fayoshe, where he was raising certain salient issues about the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu should take cue from what happened to, you know, Abiola in the past, and that, you know, from what was happening yesterday, it doesn't look like, you know, he's wanted and he's probably being pushed, and so there's, you know, seem to suggest that there seemed to be some kind of threat to his life, and that he should, you know, be cautious and all that. Is that really necessary?
Well, with all due respect, I do not share that opinion as regard to what Salah said about probably these kind of things happen in all political parties. It's not true. Because most of the political parties, it has to do with management of information. The inconsistency that you are seeing in the APC is lack of management of information. If you want to do something, be consistent and make that particular statement and stick by it. When you put it into the public, nobody will debunk it. Then you will not have this sinister motive by each of the members of the political party creating news. Because already they have been given a direct news and they know that it came from the right source, so they don't need to counter it or generate their own. With regard to the issue of Fayoshe's letter, truth be said, Ahmed Bola Tinubu is still fixated in his dreams of becoming the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that was the same situation that happened to MKO Abiola. But there are different scenarios here as regard to the level of consistency and what each and every one of them have built. In the case of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, he has built a lot of structures. Many of the people that he has made individually and collectively, some of them are still standing with him. You could see. Some will even assign that probably most of the people who are agitating that the power should go to the south was part of the people of the structure in which he had built, and they were the one being actually advocating for him. If not because of those advocacy that you are saying, probably the presidency or any other group must have stood firmly on their position of a consensus pronouncement of who will succeed the president or not. But because his henchmen are firm and solid on the ground, they're still making agitation and saying, no, we should think of the consensus, but it should probably do the consensus or go into the primaries and seed it back to the south.
Are they really behind him? Because if
I'm just saying, quite a number of them are there.
Like following the statement of, you know, his visit, when he visited Abeokuta, where he made the statements about, you know, laying claims about, you know, being in the forefront of bringing this current administration to be. We saw the response of the governor of Dapio Abiodun, where he said that, look, he's not an emperor. He doesn't impose himself, suggesting that he doesn't impose himself, you know, on his people and all of that. And then, of course, if you take a look at the vice president also, who, is said to be one of his political sons, himself being an aspirant in the race. So some people are thinking that perhaps the Bola Tinubu has been betrayed by even some of the people that you are talking about.
Of course, you expect that in politics. But if you look at behind Bola Ahmed Tinubu in that particular consultative meeting, you see the governor of Kano State.
It looks like people who are interested in his future as a president.
Yes, those who are
interested in what they stand to get, rather, not what they have gained.
No, those who he has supported, those who he has helped in building and giving them some livelihood or being politically relevant. You also see Shehu Darazo, who is the PA on special duties to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They were all seated with him there. And those ones are the people who were part of those particular negotiations that took place in those days before the president became the president. So those ones feel that, yes, he has done something good for them and for the president, so he deserves to be reciprocated in terms of their duties. So they followed him around. And every one of them have a one word or the other to say in the processes of the emergence of a new president. So with regard to Ayo Fayoshi, I think he's just giving an advice. But you see, in politics, the most gentle person is being ignored and being taken for granted. You have to be firm in whatever you're doing, and you have to show your level of interest so that people will know that you are serious. Once you show this particular lackadaisical attitude, they will rail on you even to the point of insult. Yes, I agree that maybe some other statement may not be said, but should be done in such a way that it will show that you have decency as a person. I agree with that. But you must be firm and be solid in your decision making of what you want, especially when you have the structure.
But a lot of people are also concerned that if, say for instance, some of the front runners do not get the ticket of the APC, what then happens to the APC? Let me ask you, Silas.
Well, I want to thank
because
my
it
friend.
Looks like certain people wouldn't settle for less.
No,
true.
No, this is party, and party is supreme. When the voice of the people prevail, every other person would have to just fall back and queue behind who has emerged. I can tell you for a fact that after today, if there is a victor, which I think there will be one, every other person will work in the interest of the party.
Are you sure about that?
I'm very positive.
Because it doesn't look like such.
I'm very positive about this. Now, initially, at this stage, everybody has to show capacity as to prove that I am worthy of this ticket. Okay? Now, after this stage, when there is a victor, every other person will queue behind. I can assure you that as a party member.
Do you see, for instance, an Asiwaju queuing up behind a vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, who he considers maybe not loyal, but per se?
Well, Tinubu is a kingmaker, just like my friend here has said, and he has built a lot of people politically. Now, this is very rare to find in the political terrain that we have in Nigeria. Most people, most elders don't think of bringing up people who should emerge or hold certain positions today in government. But Tinubu has done that. He has sold out. And I can tell you for a fact that he is not even mad at Osinbajo, because when it comes to politics, it is about interest. And your interest may never align with mine.
We can actually go into the argument of whether, because this brings the issue of godfatherism, this structure that we're talking about, raising people and all that, still goes back to the issue of godfatherism.
No, I do not agree.
Whether that is good for our democracy or not, that's entirely a different discussion. Because if you ask some people, they will tell you that the same Tinubu that you're talking about, building people and all of that, doesn't have a, is not clean, quote unquote.
No. Let me make a point clear. Let me make a simple point. Now you have workers who are working for you like apprentices, right? And you've trained them, you've given them some level of wealth to go exploit. You don't just immediately take off your weight off them. You monitor them, you watch them, you want to see how they are growing. And when they get to a particular level, you think they can sail on their own, you free them to go and do those things themselves. So I think Bola Tinubu Asiwaju has done so much to raising people, and he doesn't impose his candidacy on people. I think what I see is love from those whom he has helped.
Some Lagosians will not agree with you on
and
that.
exactly. So the truth is, in Nigeria, or even where you are, even where you work, everybody must not be on the same page with you. So if you have majority, then you have done a nice job. Where there's problem is if you have less people on your side than those you have raised, then you begin to imagine, even among the 12 disciples, there was a Judas.
All right, well, there are about 21 aspirants vying for that office. Let's take a look at some of them. It's not just about one man. We have a number of them. The vice president, of course, is no news that he is also in the race. We have Rotimi Amechi, the former Minister of Transportation from Rivers State, southern part of the country, and the governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, from the north central. Ahmed Lawan, Senate President, is also in the race. Godswill Akpabio. Badaru Abubakar, we understand that he has stepped down from the race. And then Kayode Fayemi from the southwestern part of the country, governor of Ekiti State. And we have Christopher Onu, who is also in the race. Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba. And then Ibikunle Amosun, Tianjak Rich, and David Umahi. All of these people, one of them will eventually emerge as, the candidate of the APC in the next year's election. About 23 of them initially, and then after the screening, the screening committee recommended, certain persons for disqualification. Initially, we heard that 10 persons were disqualified outrightly, but later the clarification came that they were recommended for disqualification. In any case, we're not even hearing much about them anymore. Are they also going to be on the ballot? That's one thing. And even if they are, going by the whole conversation about consensus and all of that, and there they are, some of the people that were said to be recommended for disqualification. Pastor Tunde Bakari, Ahmed Rufai Sani, Nicholas Felix, Uju Keng Ohaneye, and Robert Boroface, and then Ken Namani, who we also understand has stepped down from the race, and then Ben Ayade. We have also Ikiobasi Mokelu, Oladimeji Bankole, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, and also a former governor of Imo State, Korocha. These are the 10 that were recommended for disqualification. What are their options? If they are on the ballot, what happens?
Okay. Now, let me give a free consultancy service to the APC. This is where the booby trap is. All of these people, apart from those who have voluntarily, openly dropped from the race, they have to clearly stipulate in writing that they've withdrawn from that particular race and they are not running. Because INEC is going to be there and they are going to watch from the list of the ones that have already been agreed upon by the party and the list they've sent to INEC, and it's within that particular list that INEC will work.
But don't forget at the point of purchasing of the nomination forms,
there's an outright withdrawal letter which you will sign immediately.
You would have signed before this time.
Exactly.
So if there's any level of disqualification, you can leave.
Exactly. Once you've already, what I'm saying is that if that particular, I said in writing, I made sure I made that particular position.
Exactly.
So if there's a caveat in that regard, it's fine. Then those are the things that they will tender. ABC have tendered his designation. These are the documents.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, I'm giving this free consultancy because of the situation that I have in my hand. For example, the Labour Party, they have already concluded their primaries and they've had a Peter Obi emerging. But all of a sudden, here comes another person. He called himself Callistus Okafor, who happened to have been dismissed from the party years ago, claiming that he's the chairman of the party and even doing another presidential primary, emerging from another presidential candidate, because that's a Judas within the ranks. And if That is not
Is
me.
he qualified to be a Judas? Because you said he has been
But
dismissed
to him,
from the party
as
long
long
ago.
he has been a member of the party long before he was what would I say? He was suspended from the party in 2018 for similar case. Now he's not a member of the party. He belongs to another party, but he's still putting a wheel in the cog of progress of the Labour Party. At the moment now, that's what is happening. So also you may not have to run away from the simple fact that somebody among them who may not be happy with the situation may come up with this particular issue of saying that I was denied. Or people will use him to say he was denied and he doesn't have his paper written. So that's why I'm giving that caution. That they should be careful to do with the technical matters that is within that particular provision of the Electoral Act and that of the party, which is considered with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is how the process will be. At that process of the Labour Party, I am a member of the Electoral Committee. Three times, I now cautioned some of the procedures of the election in order to get it right based on the provision of the Electoral Act. Ordinarily, they can keep quiet and allow you to go and mess up your process and somebody will pick it up and then do a litigation. Then they may end up not having a candidate to run for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's a caution. And some of these things can happen.
So does the withdrawal clause, handles this effectively?
The withdrawal clause handles some of these things, but also the withdrawal clause is within the party's position. Note that. That is the party's arrangement. But the Electoral Act clearly stipulates that every one of them must write to say that they've agreed to any of the processes that is done within the law. This is key. If any one of them do not agree, then there's a problem. So for me, if the APC will take my advice as a free consultancy, they should open up the door and ensure that those who have meet up the requirement and is in consonance with the constitutional provision of the party and the provision of the Electoral Act should be allowed to run the full course of the process. When they do, they will have been either eliminated by the processes. Those people who want to vote for them will. Don't forget that in politics, you put moves in the other party in order to create problem for them. And you pay them handsomely. And if the other party who are very well technically knowledgeable in the process of making problem from their opponent will have put in their moves, make sure that everything is being processed, and they keep quiet, waiting for you to commit that particular mistake, and then bam, they take you to the court of law. The similar case has happened to APC in Zamfara State. And this time around, remember, that same INEC is not ready for any nonsense. And that was how they lost out in Zamfara State. And the INEC stood on its ground. And I'm telling you, INEC will stand on its ground if there are technical hitches in any of the process.
Well, Silas, it appears that there are quite a lot of landmines for your party. So are we guaranteed that they can be able to navigate this, to ensure that no one is aggrieved at the end of the day and there are no rooms, for such things?
Yes, I can tell you, I understand his position as far as this matter is concerned, because I think the Zamfara issue is even too far compared to, is it Ebonyi that happened recently? And these are some of the situations that must erupt sometimes.
But again, I want to even also raise the question that, is it democratically right to even have some of these things in the first place? That is the withdrawal clause, attached to the forms. Is it should we be having that kind of arrangement?
Not at all.
How can our legislation takes care of that?
Not a lot, because that is the reason why I think they work perfectly well, or at least let's say 90% of the work done on the Electoral Act is in consonance with the will of the people. Because you cannot trample upon my right. I'm a member of the party, I'm a card-carrying member of the party, I pay my dues as when due, then because I want to run for election, you now held me up to a clause and say I must resign even while I have not even applied.
And according to the guidelines of the APC, you cannot go to court until you exhaust all of that.
And the fact that
I wanted to listen. I wanted to listen so that it doesn't look as if we're having a bit of an argument here. But I think what is clear is this: apart from the Constitution, the INEC Constitution, the party have their own constitution and guideline which governs every election. And so I am sure that even before the party, how would I put it, the party structure, before they decide that, okay, this must go in line with, and for every position that is being expressed, for example, from presidency down to even state assemblies, that this must be what would happen. I'm sure it must have been gotten from the tenets of the law down to the INEC. And if it is being faulted, if any aspirant isn't okay with it, there's no point going to buy the form, and you have the will to also leave the party. So going ahead to purchase the form, go through all the necessary rights in filling the forms and submitting, I think that...
But is that not rigging?
It's not.
It's more like rigging the game before it even begins.
When there's a lot of interest, there must be certain measures to be put in place to ensure that the interest is streamlined. Because like it or not, if you keep it too open, it's going to be an ambiguous process. And this is not what we all want for now. So it must go through a streamlined process. That's why, look at it, after you write your work, you write JAMB. After you write JAMB, you still go for post-CTME. After post-CTME, there's still a lot of screening, you see. So you must go through the process to ensure that the rightfully qualified candidate will emerge at the end of the day. And I think that's what the APC have done. I am not saying this because I'm in the APC. I'm saying that the PDP also have their own tenets, which they follow. So party must respect the rule in within the jurisdiction of the INEC and even the Constitution before they go ahead to do anything.
All right. Now, you yourself, is an aspirant under the same platform of the APC. The primary election that held, would you say that some of these laws have been in your favor and some of the guidelines that INEC has, the party has provided, have they been in your favor? Thank
you for actually giving me the opportunity now. I need to clarify. As a party faithful, I am aware of some of these irregularities that can play out anytime, any day, particularly where interest differs. Just like what happened with the national chairman, the state chairman can also have the same issue as per a preferred candidate, which in my own state, I was privy that the young man contesting with me was given 500,000 naira, which wasn't hidden. The state chairman was saying it out. And he gave a particular car, a Highlander Jeep, which he was driving about for campaign. Was it the same for everyone? Did he also give me the same amount of money? Did he also give me any form of support? No. You see, so I'm saying that a particular person might have an interest, and sometimes it might not be hidden. But regardless, as a party member, play your own role. Go to the field, talk to people, go to the tip villages, mobilize people. At the end of the day, I tell you categorically that regardless of everything that played out and the violence, everything, if you watch very well, the election from Benue State, the video you are using is coming from my constituency. It was my media that did that video. And that is what they are using today to want to disqualify, or nullify rather, that election in Benue State. And as we say, okay, there's going to be now a round table where they will now agree on a consensus. Do you understand now? So we are saying that when you're going to the battlefield, you must be prepared for anything, so that whatever comes out, you know how you can legally go with it. Do you understand? That is, and I think that's party. The normal Agbero system is found in the party, no matter how you want to throw it away. It's there.
Well, how can we reduce that? Let me throw that to Dr. Yunusa. The kind of, rancor that we see, how can we manage that and deal with that?
Okay. Number one, it is good to correct this particular notion. You see, number one, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is supreme to all other laws. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the bylaw and the Electoral Act take its cue from the Constitution. The party constitution take its cue from the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the party. The bylaws take its decision, position from the Electoral Act, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that way. So you cannot give any rules and regulation without taking notice of all the other three, especially in your preparation for the document that any candidate will sign. That is to say that, have you, one way or the other, denied Section 40 of the particular provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that you are free to belong to any group of only, and you are free to even contest election as an individual? That is supreme.
So there's a conflict there.
Yes. So every position that the laws of the party will take must take cognizance of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act must take cognizance of the Constitution. That is why you see sometimes when they are working on the Electoral Act, they have to do it pari passu with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in order not to have contradiction. So some of the decisions that the party sometimes take, it takes laws into it and creates its own laws aside from the existing laws that we have. And to answer your question as regard to how do we reduce this,
Yes.
Number one, it is very important that the people themselves own the system, own the political party. What I mean here is that majority of our political parties are not owned by the people. They are owned by the bourgeoisies, those in government, and none of them are paying, they are not card-carrying members, and they are not paying membership dues as at when due to the political party. That completely annihilates them from the process. So, but they want to belong to where the food is cooked. And so therefore, they will only go with the decision or whatever decision that the party must have taken, even if it's against their own interest of survival. So that particular tussles come in within these few microcosmic few who are already been able to midwife and finance the survival of the party. If you want, everybody that has done so much, if you feel like he has done so much, he wouldn't want to relinquish his position. It is either him or he annoyed somebody. So we must eliminate, right from the beginning, what we need to do is that we have to reduce the ownership right being given to some people, but rather to the collective. And when we are doing any of our processes, should be open and transparent. So most of the people will not be agitating in the wrong way and fighting. And this particular thing have to happen, even from the delegates. Most of the delegates you are seeing ought to have been, the whole process is a direct primary for everybody. It is direct primary that leads to indirect primary. Out of the indirect primary, it leads to consensus.
That's the ideal.
That is the ideal way. So all of these things should have happened from the ward where the people that belong to the party in each of the ward votes for the person that will represent their interests as a delegate.
All right. All right, now let's take a look at a short track by the governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello. President Muhammadu Buhari has earlier met with Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello at the presidential villa in Abuja. Bello is one of the presidential hopefuls of the All Progressives Congress participating in today's primaries. Earlier on, yesterday, the Kogi State Governor did not attend the Northern Governors meeting with Buhari. According to Nasir El-Rufai, governor of Kaduna State, Bello didn't align with the position of his counterparts on power shift to the south. So earlier on, after the meeting with the president, he gave an address to the press. Let's take a look at track from that briefing.
The party, the qualified member of the party, I contested and contested. My body form was clear to participate in the election. And no reason for me to be excluded from the ballot. If they do so, then that is a recipe for a bigger trouble for the party. However, I don't think it's a decision of the party. It is a decision of few elites who may decide to use their whatever position to suppress the so-called minority. But I want to prove that in this country, I am not a minority. We have a majority. I belong to the younger generation. I belong to the generation of Nigerians that are oppressed. And they are saying they must have their voice. And I believe strongly that getting into that arena today, I will win overwhelmingly. If the process and the normal regulations are followed, I will keep the mind to this.
All right, Governor of Kogi State is a presidential hopeful under the platform of the APC and also an aspirant in today's APC presidential primaries. Well, you heard what he said.
Yeah.
That sounded like a threat.
Of course.
You know. And would you say that he has all the grounds to make such a threat?
Of course, he does, constitutionally and independently as a person he has. And this is somebody who has paid his own sum of money of 100 million, though many of us have been querying the source of this particular money. Two, this is somebody who has already gone to campaign far bigger than most of the candidates in the party, because if you see this groundswell political movement within the Nigerian youth in the 6th geographical zone, you will know that a lot of money has gone down in that particular drain. And then what are you going to promise him apart from that particular position that he's going to be on the ballot?
You know, he's been, christening himself, or I would say parading himself as the champion of the youth in this, in this dispensation and all of that. Has he earned that?
No. Whether you like it, but his age, by his age, it shows that he's of the younger generation. But whether the people see it in that regard is another different thing entirely. As I can tell you as of today, the people who the youth are even looking towards is Peter Obi, not even Yahya. But because they have their reasons, they follow their track record. These young boys and girls are not fools. Most of the people that was paraded in this man match, of course, a lot of people will go because there's a small stipend that will go along with it that encourage you. But I must say, I must confess here, I'm amazed with the level of followership that Yahya Bello was able to get, even if you are giving people some stipend. If you don't believe in that particular thing, you will not even come out. But the large number of people that he was able to gather in each of the zones is amazing. And I must give it kudos to him for doing that kind of yeoman's job, no matter how it is. Whatever he used to convince them to come along, I don't know. But they did came out. And so therefore, we have to give him kudos for that. But holding to his right, this is where I was telling you that we need to be careful all day in the APC.
But
for me, it would have been Uhuru for me. I'll be happy because I am in the opposition.
Let me speak a little
So I would not be happy.
Let me react to him. You see, in Nigeria there's hunger everywhere. So the moment you call for political rally, people want to come there not because they believe in what you have to say or what you have to deliver or who you proclaim yourself to be. They are coming there. In fact, as somebody who has campaigned, I can tell you, all the Turenchi you're speaking, nobody's listening to you until you declare what you want to give to the people. Then everybody's happy. You see them sharing the money. In fact, those who will fight, and they'll go away. At the end of the day, you have a few who would actually, who rather believes in your ideology. Now, and like I said, like Yahya Bello and every other young aspirant, you have to, even if you don't have that capacity, you have to say or project that capacity that you have it. Do you understand? So that's exactly what is happening.
That leaves a lot of suspicion, on Yahya Bello as to, does he actually think that he has, the might to slug it out with, with other candidates?
That is not for you. No, that is not for you or
is
me
there also
to
another
decide.
motive that we are not aware of?
I've been in party politics. I may look very young, but I have been the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. And then I know virtually, if not the oldest, I'm still the oldest political party chairman in Nigeria as of today. Yes, I can put to that. You can go and check. The truth is this. In politics, you have to create a hoax.
Yeah.
Create a scenario. No matter how you're going to do it, just creating. Some people will buy into it. If anybody will see the kind of population that Yahya Bello was able to monster, whether you are giving them money or not giving them money, for them to have even come out to even support you one way or the other, it gathers some kind of respect for you. No matter what, you cannot ostracize Yahya Bello in this particular contest. In this contest.
You're correct. You're very correct.
You cannot.
When you have an Osibanjo, and
no matter how you look at it,
Rotimi Amechi,
were they able to gather that kind of people on the street?
No, but at the end of the day, Nigerians will sit back, because this is what every other person does, and be like, who does my conscience want me to vote for?
But you know, he said that that decision to zone to the southern part of the country is not a decision
No, he's not
of
part
the
of
party.
party.
Yes.
Yes.
But these are governors, like 14.
They're his colleagues.
12 out of 14 governors, or is it 13, I believe?
There are 14
you know,
and then-
agreed, you know, on this decision.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't that enough for him to, you know, just, you know, slow it down?
No,
And
he
then-
will not.
No.
As a politician, you don't slow down.
Your
You keep on
interest
moving.
is supreme above every other person's interest.
You keep on
And you
moving.
must do everything possible within the jurisdiction of the party and the law to ensure that your interest is protected.
You only
no
come
matter
to
what.
reality at the point of poll.
Poll, yes.
What takes place in the general election is different from what takes place at party elections. Party primaries is different from the general election. If you're not in the structure of the party, then be counting yourself as being taken off. But you can use your numerical strength and what you've been able to gather for a negotiation. People will see that there is possibility in you. So they keep on giving you a kind of respect. But as we stand today, his colleagues who have talked to him, trying to see if we can persuade him to drop his ambition, have taken note. He refused them, they have taken note. They still have the power to control their delegates.
Yes, definitely.
It may not be 100%, but they can take some of it and say, look, this particular person is no-go area. And it's only when they come to the primary, his eyes will be clear.
Yeah.
No matter amount of money you give, they can collect your money waiting for you. If you want them to refund it, they will refund it. Those that will not refund it, they will go away with you. You cannot hold them. They didn't beg you to give them in the first place. You came and begged them and gave them the money. So they collect. And then they vote for the person that their own masters or their own leaders or their own belief direct them to do. So you may end up, that is why it is better, far comforting for APC to allow the process to pull through.
To run.
When you see it being done, I will tell you, I was a candidate of the CPC under an alliance. And the option A4 was what was trending at that time. What did we do? A Mo was brought into CPC from the PDP, who happened to be a secretary of the state chapter. But because the CPC does not have that money and the candidate does not have that money, he came into CPC, built all the structures, all the polling station and all, gave them a lot of money. I didn't have that kind of money to give. So I packed my members for an option A4 primaries. I brought them to the scene of the election. I just said, I'm going to go and pray. Before I could come back, they started the process. Do you know what? All the people I brought queued behind that particular, in my eyes. They left and queued for that particular same person. And I was defeated. I came second. But the truth about it is that when God will now use, I was happy with the law of karma that happened. This same person now came out after he has become the candidate of the party. He now came out and said he has dropped, he's not contesting, when it becomes so difficult for the party to replace him, so they ended up not having a candidate. At the end of it all, he was working for his PDP master, and then they won the election without no contest. That is the same scenario I'm painting. Yes, that's the same kind of landmine I'm putting forward. Mark my words. If they didn't take very careful position of the way they are going, APC will end up not having a presidential candidate.
All right, so let's talk about projections here. Earlier today, the two newspapers, the Nation newspaper and the Daily Trust newspapers, did some certain projections where they allotted some states to some aspirants. And of course, it looks like it's in the favor of the former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There you have it on our screen. On our screen there, you see that he has 16 states, and the VP has 2 states, Amechi 2, Fayemi 2, Lawan 2, Bello has 1, Akpabio has 1, Onu has 1, and then Ayade 1. Then you have 10 other states that could swing
To any
either
direction.
way, to any direction. So how practical is this projection in your own opinion in rounding this up?
Very practical. Like I said earlier on, I told you that Bola Ahmed Tinubu Asiwaju has been able, whether you like it or not, have been able to put structures on the ground. Whether he stole the money or he get them anywhere, he's running a kind of a Marxist ideological kind of a way of party building, but he was building it within the structure. You know, Lenin and all said that even we have a target, we want to get to power. Even if it means we have to send our people to go and rob the states.
Yes.
Go and rob and then we finance it. So what he's doing now, he has one way or the other, in quotes, I'm not saying he has robbed the state, but one way or the other, he has able to muster a lot of resources and use it to build the structures in each of the states. You can't believe the kind of support that Ahmed Bola Tinubu gave to Ogun State's governor. He come to confirm it. Apart from the money, the support that he gave to the presidency itself, which he came out to say. So he had done that to a lot of states. So now it is a payback time because they believe in the structure he has built. So putting it on ground, yes, Ahmed Bola Tinubu Asiwaju can control that particular system and even more.
Okay,
if they go into the particular problem.
Okay.
That is the reason why even the private president himself left Lagos State, where he first of all became a member of the party and became Attorney General of the state. He silently went and registered in Ogun State without the knowledge of even the Lagos because he knows he cannot control that particular structure.
All right. How about if we have, what are the likely surprises that could spring up? Horse trading, for instance.
Well, you mean in terms of the presidential primaries today? Well, I think an unlikely candidate would emerge, one who would rather be astonishing. I have had audience with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think the way people see him outwardly is different from who he actually is. Tinubu is not a too power-drunk person. He believes in, if you give him the respect he deserves, he can go at any length to protect his image. So I see him giving his mandate. The fight for him is that he shouldn't go to the north, he should come to the south. That's his fight. And if that happens eventually at the end of the day, I will see him probably giving the baton to someone else.
For real?
Yes.
This is lifelong ambition we're talking about here.
I tell you for a fact.
How do you think
Remember,
let
me paint a particular scenario for you. There was a time where Obasanjo was ready to take away Lagos State from him. He was going for Senate. You know what he did? He stepped down, called someone else, I think one Komolafe, I can't remember the person's name, called the person to come be senator, contest for Senate, and then ensure that who he wanted for governor would sit. That's the kind of person he is.
Well, that's
so long as his interest
that's an unlikely projection.
You know, there's a particular, I'm telling you for a fact, you must have not had this.
Not unlikely, but
you must have not had this from anybody before, but I'm telling you for a fact, this might play out. Because this is, I've spoken to him before. And when we talk, you will see the likelihood of who a person is, you know, at closed door, than when when you go for consultation politically, they tell you it's better you go one-on-one than you go with people. Because of the people you go with, he might not be able to tell you what's really inside. But when you're there and it's just you and him, you might be able to get.
You know why I'm finding it difficult to absorb? That. Because I mean, time without number. He has repeatedly said this
Correct.
is a lifelong ambition.
Correct.
Everything about 2023 appeared to have been planned out decades ago.
Correct.
You know.
Whoever doesn't, is there any person?
If you look at even the claims about bringing the current administration into B and all of that, it will appear that it was all calculated. So how is it that just at the last minute, just when it is about to happen?
And it's also good for you to know that as a politician, I can tell you a lot of sweet words when I know your line of argument in order to get you to buy into my agenda. I can do that. So for Ahmed Bola Tinubu, yes, it is possible, but what are the possibilities is like almost 6-1. And the truth is this: Ahmed Bola Tinubu had been a progressive ab initio. Remember the Nadeko days and all of those ones. In fact, he was one of the leaders, may he so rest in peace, my leader, Alhaji Balaraba Musa, told me that Bola Tinubu has been a progressive The idea of progressiveness, of course, is that we want to see our country, moving and growing and in the right direction and all. And he exemplified as a governor of Lagos State.
All right. Now, there's this other issue again. Quickly, I want us to chip in on that before we round up. Who will eventually, if, say, Ahmed Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerges as the flag bearer of the party, who will he be running with?
Exactly.
The conversation about having a Muslim ticket is there, and all of these religious considerations.
Now, that is where I think the party is looking into so seriously that you see that most of the leaders of the party who are in governance are pushing for a consensus candidate. Consensus candidate in such a way that they know clearly that if they go into the primaries cleanly, nobody will win that ticket apart from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If they repeat it 10 times,
he will win.
He will win it. 10 times. But then, in order to sway his position, they think a consensus candidate may emerge so that Ahmed Tinubu will forgo his ambition. But he will not. But the truth is this. When the real election comes in the general election, with all due respect to my northern brothers and sisters, everybody look out for his own interests. The religious game will come into play. And in as much as he too is clamoring for a southern presidency, just like as you say, so also will the north be clamoring for a Muslim vice president, because they are in the majority in a way. So he cannot eat his cake and have it at the same time. But even though he has said it, that leave the choice of the vice president to me, I can take any Muslim to be my own vice, as long as I'm in the majority.
All right.
And the same thing has happened also in Kaduna State.
We'll see how all of that panned out.
Where Malam Nasru El-Rufai was of the belief that it's supposed to be enough Muslim, a southern Christian.
Okay,
but eventually he went out and took a southern president, vice governor, who happened to be a Muslim from that area, and it sails through.
Okay,
so anything can happen.
Well, let's not forget that this is a primary election.
Yes, of course.
The general election where you are going to be contesting
it's a different ballgame entirely.
Other political parties who have other presidential aspirants and other running mates and the rest of them.
Yes.
And Atiku is there in the major opposition, and only God knows who his running mate will be. And at the end of the day,
is there.
We'll see how.
Let me be honest. Let me be honest. Let me be honest. There's been this
in 1 minute, please.
Notion. Yes, there's been this notion that the North is not still ready to relinquish power, which it has had for 8 years. And the way it's been done, regardless of the fact that it's not constitutional, it is still rotational. And this is something that we have come to believe. So majority of the fight that you're seeing, Osibanjo, for one, I do not think has the wherewithal to fight the North as to drag that power to the South. Amechi, that I might think, might be able to, but may not have the capacity to do so. The only person who can fight that fight is Tinubu.
All right. Well, we'll see.
So this is my position, and I know that at the end of the day, if power can come to the South, who would become vice president would not be a problem. I can assure you that.
Well, we'll see how all of that pans out. Unfortunately, we have to end the segment at this point. Going back and to go back to our team at the field for the continuation of the live coverage. I've been speaking with Silas Victor, House of Representatives APC aspirant under the Ogbadigbo State constituency of Benue State, and also Dr. Yunusa Tanko, Chairman, National Conscience Party, and also spokesperson, Consultative Front, here in the studio. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this live coverage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Yeah. God bless the president, God bless Nigeria, and God bless Nigerians.
Amen. All right.
Thank you,
we're heading back to the field, the Eagle Square, where the live broadcast will be coming to you right here on this channel, and then later I'll be back in the studio for the continuation of our analysis. For now, we'll take that breather. Please stay tuned.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we also have here His Excellency, the Governor of Osun State, His Excellency, Mr. Adigboyega Oyetola, and his deputy. Your Excellencies, you're most welcome. I want to use this medium to recognize and welcome especially His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Chairman, Progressive Governors Forum. Excellency, you're welcome. I want everybody we sit down for this place. We come for this APC convention. Make we take time, relax, no say it go happen as they plan. Because APC na the party, the only party we're supposed to is Niger. And as we believe, come here, make we believe say everything we expect go happen as we expect. But one thing remains say, make we sit down for our tent. Every state as you waka come, get your own canopy, get your own tent. I beg, make you know the waka for field. You know go too beautiful to look. You know go too fine. Person won't pass, go block am. Grandma one carry picture. You know go see road. I beg, make we gather ourselves, coordinate ourselves, make it fine as we plan and as we wear fine clothes, come this place, come get fine intention, come get fine mind, come get cool mind, make it be safe, we go relax, we go organize ourselves, make it better as we plan. The co-chairman Security Compliance Committee of this convention, General Abdurrahman Bello Bazao, I'd like to welcome you, sir.